Xiao Bai's face was ugly. This woman was not as good as she seemed, she was acting as if their master didn't exist. Listening to Xiao Bai's words, Xiao He understood his dislike. Yes. That's it. They were wondering why Han Xiling made them so uncomfortable. So, the original problem was this. Baisher's eyes were slightly angry, the number of pesky guys he met today was really a lot. He hated Ji Yun'er. This Han Xiling was even more annoying. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. From the first look at Han Xiling, she knew that this woman was not the embodiment of an elegant lotus, but the arrogance in her bones made her look down on most people. It was because of this arrogance that she had been ignored, but naturally, she too was indifferent. This kind of temperament was not uncommon in arrogant women. Obviously, there was still a certain gap between the identity of Ji Yun'er and Han Xiling. It was precisely because of this that they had been so uncomfortable of Ji Yun'er and Han Xiling, they were contemptuous. Since this was a reconciliation between Han Xiling and Di Beichen, it was meaningless for her to stand next to them. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang stepped away slightly. However, as soon as Bailey Hongzhuang took a step, Di Beichen suddenly pulled her and prevented her from leaving. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned, looking at Di Beichen with slight puzzlement, but Di Beichen was smiling at her. I came here this time to see people I miss. Di Beichen slowly said. After Han Xiling, who had originally been indifferent to Bailey Hongzhuang, heard Di Beichen's words, a touch of color could not help but surface on her calm face. Who did you want to see? Di Beichen nodded slightly and pulled Bailey Hongzhuang to his side. He smiled slightly. This is my wifey, Bailey Hongzhuang. Han Xiling's eyes flashed with a hint of haze. She had not expected that in such circumstances, Di Beichen would even emphasize the identity of Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Han Xiling's face remained calm, only looking faintly at Bailey Hongzhuang. Wifey, this is my shimmy, Han Xiling. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang by his side tenderly. The distance between him and his lady was hard to bridge. He wouldn't like it if things returned to the way they were originally. Ji Yun'er's eyes widened. What? Even in front of Han Xiling's face, Di Beichen is still saying that. In my opinion, Di Beichen really likes Bailey Hongzhuang. Lin Yirou laughed gently. Han Xiling is naturally flawless, but it not necessarily so in the eyes of lovers. Besides, don't you think both Bailey Hongzhuang's looks and temperament are better than Han Xiling's? After hearing these words, the faces of the other three, even Ji Yun'er's, changed. They had to admit that it was a fact. If Bailey Hongzhuang had not said she was a commoner, who would dare to belittle her on seeing her appearance and temperament? This Bailey Hongzhuang can't be an ordinary person. Huang Fuhui said indifferently, his mouth just the slightest bit curved in laughter. The appearance is beautiful and her temperament is natural. Ordinary people can't have such a temperament. Lin Yirou nodded slightly. The thoughts of Huang Fuhui were the same as hers. Any ordinary person wouldn't have the courage to confront them at all. Much less, make Ji Yun'er suffer. With what Di Beichen had achieved today, his vision will naturally not be bad. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart, which had been turbulent earlier, settled down at hearing Di Beichen's words. She did not know what exactly happened between Di Beichen and Han Xiling, but since Di Beichen dared to introduce her in this way, it proved that the two of them were still not that intimate. Hello. Han Xiling took the lead, and although her tone was warm, her eyes shone with complex emotions. Hello. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent, but she did not ignore the look of cold sword-like emotion in Han Xiling's eyes. This Han Xiling was definitely not a good person. Therefore, this elegant, lotus-like temperament was probably hot and spicy in reality. However, she had never been afraid of threats. The two women stood face to face, and although they spoke politely, anyone could feel the frozen atmosphere between them. Xia Zhiqing and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Regardless of who this Han Shiling was, at least Di Bei Chen had made his attitude very clear. As a result, they could also rest assured. The monument is about to come up. Let's take a rest. Di Bei Chen whispered faintly, and after smiling at Han Shiling, he took Bailey Hongzhuang's hand in his and walked back to the team. Han Shiling's eyes were fixed onto the entwined hands of Di Bei Chen and Bailey Hongzhuang. She had known Dage for so many years. Dage had never been this close to other women and had never left her alone. Now, with the appearance of this woman, all this has changed. Yan Lingxian and the others looked at each other silently. Today's show was wonderful. The ugly face of Ji Yun'er was very satisfying to look at that moment. Since even Han Shiling had tasted a sour lemon, what more she? Bailey Hongzhuang sat on the ground while Di Bei Chen sat beside her. She didn't express any facial expression and remained silent. Di Bei Chen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's expression. He understood and feared that the incident just now made Bailey Hongzhuang feel rather unpleasant, so he had to explain to her. "Lady, don't misunderstand me." Bailey Hongzhuang's brows rose. Misunderstanding? So many people were watching, but Di Bei Chen actually said it was a misunderstanding. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was displeased, Di Bei Chen hurried up, but the next second, Di Bei Chen's eyes were suddenly filled with a deep smile. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face and eyebrows wrinkled slightly. At such a time, Di Bei Chen was actually laughing at her. "Why are you laughing while looking at me?" Bailey Hongzhuang said coldly. Di Bei Chen grinned as he chuckled. "Wifey, are you jealous?" His voice fell and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at him blankly. Was she jealous? "Ha, jealous." Xiao He snickered. Master looked like this while jealous. Of course, this kind of expression they had never seen before. "I am not." Upon hearing this, Di Bei Chen did not tease Bailey Hongzhuang any longer. Instead, he only held her hand and slowly told her his story. "I have lived in a martial arts sect since I was a child. Master had brought me with him. Han Shiling is the granddaughter of one of the great elders and has grown up with me since childhood. So, our relationship is very good. You shouldn't think about this too much. Han Shiling is just a shimmy. I only think of her as a sister. As for love between men and women, I only have you in my heart." Di Bei Chen gazed at Bailey Hongzhuang, eyes filled with seriousness and affection. He had never had true feelings for a woman until after he had seen Bailey Hongzhuang. This was the first time he had had such a feeling. Until now, he had been considered a cripple. If not for him suddenly becoming a cripple, why would he have come from his sect to the Fengbo country? For 3 years of forbearance in his life, he was once hateful and full of grief, but now he felt that this was all for the best. The 3 years of being a cripple had made him see the true features of many people around him, making his original arrogance wane and become more mature and tough. The most important thing is that while he was gone, Bailey Hongzhuang appeared by his side. Perhaps this had all been predestined by the heavens. He could stand again because of Hongzhuang, and she also became his wife by chance. He thanked God for all this and wanted to protect his Bailey Hongzhuang. Listening to Di Bei Chen, Bailey Hongzhuang's mood gradually became better. She believed in Di Bei Chen's words. If Di Bei Chen had liked Han Shiling in his heart, he would never have pursued her. "Do you believe me, lady?" Di Bei Chen asked seriously as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang licked her lips, and her eyes became more alluring. Although she had never spoken, Di Bei Chen already understood everything. "Lady, do you want to know my story?" He had never said it before, not because he did not want to say, but because he thought Bailey Hongzhuang would not be willing to listen. Now that the relationship between them had gone a step further, he felt that Bailey Hongzhuang should know a little more about him. This would help to avoid a lot of misunderstandings. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "What kind of life did you have in the past?" Di Bei Chen slowly turned to look in front, appearing a bit distant and various emotions wafting off him. From Di Bei Chen's narrative, Bailey Hongzong understood his identity. Originally, Di Bei Chen had been a disciple of Tian Gangzong, and his master was none other than the sovereign of Tian Gangzong. His master had no children in his life, so he always treated Di Bei Chen as his son and only taught him as a disciple in his entire life. Di Bei Chen's talent was also very outstanding. Since he first started cultivating, his master had never been disappointed. In the dark, everyone regarded Di Bei Chen as the successor of Tian Gangzong. In the sect, there were 4 elders in addition to the sovereign. Each elder had their own prided disciple. Since Tian Gangzong had been established, there had been a custom. The position of young suzerain would be selected from among the disciple of the patriarch and the 4 elders' disciples. The one who was the strongest would be the young suzerain. This approach was to avoid more competition, and making the successor or motivated. It was only through competition that the strongest person could be born. This was also a good way for a sect to remain strong. A few years ago, his master had left Tian Gangzong to achieve a breakthrough. This was quite normal. Not only his master but also elders of other sects and the patriarchs of some families would go out to seek an opportunity for a breakthrough. It was not a simple matter and could take a lot of time. After his master left for a period of time, the problem in Di Bei Chen's legs appeared, and other competitors wanted to take this opportunity to make quick work of him. Originally, he had been able to resist. Until he could not stand up anymore, there were then fewer and fewer supporters in the sect. In these 3 years of forbearance, he had always disguised himself as a waste. In fact, he had ever given up. It was precisely because of this that his status as a prince had been sealed by Xianyuan Yutian. As for being his illegitimate child, that was entirely nonsense. In his 3 years of durance, Xianyuan Huan and the others had harassed him all the time, but he had always forborne, not for others, but because someone had been watching his every move. Once he showed his abilities, there would be people who would seek him out. Among the sect, no one dared to deal with him so openly, but after he came to the Fengbo country, they had more chances to do so. Since he was able to stand again, he returned to the sect. As long as he was not a useless cripple, he was still the successor. In the past, he was recognized as the young suzerain of Tian Gangzong. Although there were many things that happened afterward, as long as he was able to stand again, he would not have any difficulty returning to his previous position. Even till date, his master had not returned, but Di Bei Chen still returned to his original position. However, this time when he was back at Tian Gangzong, his feelings were completely different from the past. He had lived in Tian Gangzong since childhood and had a lot of friends. However, since he became a crippled person with no future, his friends not only did not help him, on the contrary, many of them stomped on him. Therefore, he now felt that he had benefited greatly from this 3 years of change. If not for this opportunity presenting itself and revealing the true nature of those around him, he would not have known there were so many con men around. As for Ji Yun'er, he had never said anything to her. Even though he was not that close to Ji Yun'er, they had been friends for many years. He had maintained a polite conduct, but Ji Yun'er had already expressed her love. 3 years ago, when he was crippled, Ji Yun'er never said another word to him. Why should he bother with such a woman? After listening to Di Bei Chen, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a trace of distress. Although Di Bei Chen said it so simply, she understood exactly what kind of state he was in these past 3 years. There was not much difference with being ostracized. From a genius everyone looked up to, he had become the waste everyone trampled on. If his mental fortitude was not strong enough, he would really have been finished. Then Han Shiling. Wisdom flashed through Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful eyes. Didn't she give up on you in these 3 years? Di Bei Chen looked deeply at Bailey Hongzhuang, not concealing anything. Yes, Han Shiling had been secretly helping me these past 3 years. If not, my life would have been worse. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. She understood the attitude Di Beichen had towards Han Xiling was with reason. Under such circumstances, Han Xiling had never given up on him. This kind of friendship was hard to find, and anyone with blood and flesh would not turn a blind eye to it. After thinking about it, Di Beichen already knew of Han Xiling's feelings for him, he just did not want to hurt her. I understand. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Believe me, I will deal with this matter. Di Beichen's eyes flashed with earnestness. He grew up with Han Xiling, he was not willing to destroy the sentiment between them, but he was even more unwilling to hurt Bailey Hongzhuang. Because Bailey Hongzhuang was his most important person. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. I believe in you. She didn't care about others, what she cared about was what Di Beichen felt in his heart. As for others, they were not important. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichen felt relieved. What he was most worried about was Bailey Hongzhuang's response to this matter. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang was not displeased. He really should be looking for a time to solve this problem. He had always been a direct person. He was never one to drag his feet, and he was not willing to delay Han Xiling. Oh, Dage, I have something to say to you. After Han Xiling saw Di Beichen with Bailey Hongzhuang, talking with him so intimately, a trace of chill appeared on her elegant face. She didn't know who this woman was, but as long as she dared to steal her big brother, she would not forgive her. Di Beichen looked at Han Xiling who had appeared suddenly before him. He pondered for a moment and nodded. Okay. Elegantly getting up, Di Beichen said to Bailey Hongzhuang. Wifey, I'll be back in a moment. You go. Bailey Hongzhuang gave a light smile. Han Xiling saw the complex and unfathomable look of Bailey Hongzhuang and then led Di Beichen some distance away. Upon seeing this, Xia Zhiqing went to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. There was a bit of anxiety on her face. Hongzhuang, can you rest assured nothing will happen between the two? Nothing will happen. With a smile, she replied, looking calm and unruffled. This Han Xiling likes Di Beichen, she is your great rival. Ah, how can you be so calm? Di Beichen is your husband, you must not allow others to snatch. Although Han 11 Ling camouflages very successfully, she cannot escape my eyes, she is definitely a white lotus. Xia Zhiqing said determinedly. She had been very confident of her own eyes. Taking advantage of Xia Zhiqing's uneven expression, the smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's face gradually deepened, and there was a hint of a warmth in her heart. Zhiqing, thank you. I'm your good friend, naturally I'm on your side, said Xia Zhiqing. But can you really be so calm? I think this Han Xiling is an enemy. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and shook her head. If he were to be snatched so easily, what qualification does he have, to be my, Bailey Hongzhuang's man? She had always been indiscriminate. If Di Beichen was really taken away, then she would only thank Han Xiling. The man that she, Bailey Hongzhuang, was with, must only have her in his eyes. This is what she wants. Han Xiling was proud, but Bailey Hongzhuang's arrogance was not any less than hers. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang, Xia Zhiqing could not help but give her a thumbs up. You're right about that. I support you. She really didn't think that Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was so strong, but thinking about it, what she said was true. With how amazing Bailey Hongzhuang was, she would not be able to find a man. But, I still believe Di Beichen is sincere to you. Xia Zhiqing grinned. He said that you were his lady right in Han Xiling's face. It is clear that he is innocent. In my opinion, Di Beichen may have already broken her heart now. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, but she looked in the distance. This Han Xiling was not a good person. In the woods, Han Xiling and Di Beichen stood opposite each other. Dage, you only re-established your position in the sect and then left immediately. This is very unfavorable to your status. Han Xiling slowly uttered her thoughts, and there was no lack of concern in her words. It's fine, as long as I am no longer a crippled person who can't even stand up, they can't do anything to me again. Di Bei-chen looked carefree. In 3 years, he had enough thoughts to clear up many things. Things that were important to him then were no longer important. But, without hearing Han Xiling speak, Di Bei-chen had already interrupted her. I don't have more to say. I have already decided. So, have you really decided to be with that girl? She is nothing more than a commoner. There is an inseparable gap between you and her, the daughter of an ordinary general. There is no match at all. At the moment, Han Xiling no longer concealed her inner thoughts. She could not believe that Di Bei-chen would like such an ordinary girl. What matches, what does not matches? Di Bei-chen asked. In my heart, she is the best. No one could understand the status of Bailey Hongzhuang in his mind. For more than 10 years, he had never felt his heart beat for any other woman, but he had been impressed the very first moment he saw Bailey Hongzhuang. Such a woman, with her tenacity, hard work, and decisiveness, had clearly left an impression on him. He had never had any sentiments for her before, but then she was even willing to cure him. So far, he felt that the only thing Xianyuan Yutian did correctly as for him and Bailey Hongzhuang to marry. In fact, even if Xianyuan Yutian had not given them a marriage, he would still try his best to make Bailey Hongzhuang his wife. Because he had her in his heart. Once Bailey Hongzhuang was there in his heart, no one could replace her position. She was the best in his heart. Seeing Di Bei-chen so determined, Han Elevenling's face became even uglier. When the sovereign returns, even he will not agree with you. Di Bei-chen shook his head. I believe that master will support my decisions. Just when Di Bei-chen was ready to leave, Han Xiling suddenly spoke up. Well, I do. Di Bei-chen's stature stiffened as he slowly turned around. Dage, you know my feelings for you, can't I compare to Bailey Hongzhuang in your heart? Han Xiling asked. Since she was a child, she had always loved Di Bei-chen as a family. For many years, although Di Bei-chen had never said anything to her, Di Bei-chen had also never been with any other women. Therefore, she believed that as long as she was beside Di Bei-chen would love her. Now that Di Bei-chen had only left for 3 years, all this had changed. Is it that her companionship of more than 10 years with Di Bei-chen was not as good as Bailey Hongzhuang? Xiling, I have always thought of you as my sister. You know it. Di Bei-chen's words were low and serious. The person I love is Bailey Hongzhuang. This is a completely different feeling. As soon as those words came out, Han Xiling's face became pale and she felt injured. She could hardly believe that Di Bei-chen would say such words to her in such a decisive manner. I don't want to delay you. Xiling, you will always be my sister. As for your feelings, I can't reciprocate them. Di Bei-chen said earnestly. He did not want to be vague about this matter, otherwise, he would be unfair to Bailey Hongzhuang and unfair to Han Xiling. He only wanted to be with Bailey Hongzhuang and protest her. He did not want to see her unhappy at all. Dage, I have liked you for so many years, but now you reject me so simply, is it that you no longer care for me? Han Xiling looked wounded, her 2 eyes were faintly covered with the crystalline sheen of tears. It is not that I don't care for you. I will not return to the sect during this time, it will be good for you. Di Bei-chen had no changes in his attitude despite Han Xiling's tears. He understood that being afraid to hurt her would be being cruel to himself. Only an unyielding attitude would completely break down Han Xiling's thoughts. After Han Xiling recovered, they may be able to go back to being brother and sister. As his voice fell, Di Bei-chen no longer said anything, but he turned and walked away. For Han Xiling, he apologized, but he could not do more. Any words of comfort would be like knives instead. Han Xiling looked at Di Bei-chen's departing back, and her heart felt like it would burst with pain. However, both her eyes could not help but be filled with resentment. For so many years, she had always been the arrogant woman in the eyes of all people. How many young masters liked her, she dismissed them, the only one she liked was Bewitching. Now, a woman who had suddenly appeared had destroyed her years of feelings. How could she give up? She would not. She will never lose. How could she be defeated by a woman who was nothing? Han Shiling's eyes gradually strengthened, she believed her big brother had only been briefly blinded by Bailey Hongzhuang. Soon, he would wake up. And then, she and Di Bei-chen would naturally be a couple. When everyone saw Di Bei-chen come back first, their eyes hanged a bit. Wise men had already guessed the conversation between Han Shiling and Di Bei-chen. I didn't think that Han Shiling, who has always been so arrogant, would be defeated by an ordinary girl. I'm really happy. Lin Yi-ro smiled slightly. She had always been slighted and dismissed by Han Shiling. Now, she was delighted to see this scene. Lin Yi-ro, you are gloating like this, it seems it's not so good. Yan Ling-xian frowned. Don't you like Han Shiling? Lin Yi-ro smiled. Now, you must be the happiest person in this situation. Hearing this, Yan Ling-xian's face changed a bit. In fact, this situation really did make him happy. Han Shiling has a temper, it is not in line with her style to give up. Huang Fu Hui's eyes shined with wisdom. Bailey Hongzhuang will be in trouble. Ji Yun'er's eyes were filled with viciousness as she seethed. This woman, Bailey Hongzhuang, is really damned. Even if Han Shiling does nothing, I will not let her go. As the young miss of Ji family and one of their prided children, when had she ever eaten a loss? In any case, she would not bear this. Lin Yi-ro looked at Ji Yun'er with a faint smile. Di Bei-chen has claimed Bailey Hongzhuang as her wife. If you want to offend Di Bei-chen because of Bailey Hongzhuang, think carefully. Saying this, Lin Yi-ro's eyes could not help but fall on Bailey Hongzhuang's body. Although she did not really know Bailey Hongzhuang, she really admired her. As an ordinary girl, she had stood against both Han Shiling and Ji Yun'er. This courage was not one possessed by ordinary people. It was really interesting. If she had the opportunity, knowing her better was also a good choice. Only after Han Shiling returned, did everyone close their mouths and keep silent. Di Bei-chen sat down beside Bailey Hongzhuang. His handsome, bright face full of an evil smile. Aren't you curious what we talked about? Bailey Hongzhuang's brows and beautiful face was relaxed. Laughing enchantingly, she asked instead, do you want to tell me? Not even asking her, Xiao He and Xiao Bai could not help but join in on the fun, the two beasts were curious cats. Di Bei-chen smiled brilliantly, his wifey was very different from ordinary women. He caught Bailey Hongzhuang's hand, his voice gentle, I have made it clear to Shiling, and, perhaps, Shiling will take some time. Wifey just needs to believe in me. Bailey Hongzhuang gazed at Di Bei-chen, this guy's straightforwardness made her very satisfied. What she hated the most were men that are ambiguous and don't speak up in such matters. Di Bei-chen could be so resolute, she was really happy. As for Han Shiling's response, Xiao He and Xiao Bai also told her that the contradiction between her and Han Shiling had only just begun. As a man, Di Bei-chen was not aware of how fierce fight between women is, especially when there are no smokes in the war. However, she was not afraid. After this incident, everyone turned their heads to rest and adjusted their breath. The ancient monument would be completely revealed tomorrow. They must adjust their strength to it best in order to face the challenges in the monument in their prime condition. There are many treasures in ancient monuments, but there are also many dangers. One small mistake, and their lives would inadvertently be lost. Not only that, but so many cultivators around was already a huge threat. In the event of someone robbing a treasure, it would be a bloody struggle. There was also considerable risk that many things had changed in the past 1,000 years, and her understanding of ancient monuments was not as good as before. As night fell, with so many cultivators gathered there, it was quiet and only the beasts that came out of the monument stunned the people into an uproar. Baisher, do you know what guardian beast that is? Xiao He asked. This guy is too noisy. Baisher nodded, this should be the Qing Tian Mo alligator. With its inherited memory, it had a deeper understanding of demonic beasts. From the voice, he could determine the identity of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Hearing the name of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, Bailey Hongzhuang's face changed a bit. The Qing Tian Mo alligator is comparable to a human cultivator at the Huang, yellow, border. Adding in the fact that this Qing Tian Mo alligator has guarded the ancient monument for so many years, its strength must be stronger than ordinary Qing Tian Mo alligator. I didn't expect this to happen. A beast like this alligator is a hassle. Xiao He's face was dignified and he had no choice but to mention it. Baisher, can you stop the Qing Tian Mo alligator? Xiao He asked. No matter how you say it, Baisher was the beast king. Baisher looked a bit depressed. My strength is still weak. I will be able to shock the Qing Tian Mo alligator for some time with my aura, but later he will be able to resist. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's face became serious. It had not been long since Baisher had been born, with just a few months, his strength was naturally not too strong, but to think that its aura could shake the Qing Tian Mo alligator was beyond her expectations. Chapter 487 Considering the risks, don't worry. There are so many people here, we can't do that. 1. The corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips were slightly raised. There are so many cannon fodders around, if not used, wouldn't it be a waste? The members of the 4 cultivation families must be more than desperate to enter the ancient monument. Once the Qing Tian Mo alligator came out, they would certainly take the lead. After all, they absolutely would not put them in their eyes, as merely lucky students who happened to pass through the miasma forest. Although the Tsanglan College was widely known, and they were special enrollment students of the college, but at most they were only considered to have potential, and in long term would not be that useful. Master is right. Let these guys use their strength and clear up our way. Otherwise, aren't we being at a disadvantage? Xiao He's eyes were twinkling. They had to make use of these people, that was an extremely important point. It's for the tall people to worry when the sky falls. We just need to enjoy our achievements. Xiao Bai said proudly. They must retain their strength to the end. Baisher stared at the crowd of black-bellied people in front of him and had to admit that their idea was really good. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo gathered Bailey Hongzhuang and other people together. The 2 teachers' face was full of dignified expression. If it is as we expected, the monument will open tomorrow. This is an opportunity with risk. You may have an opportunity for growth, or you could suffer a loss. No one can judge the outcome. Lu Huaiyan's voice was slightly heavy, you must be very careful. Even with my strength, there is no guarantee that I would not suffer. The only hope is that the trials will not be too cruel. Listening to these words, the other people's face also became dark and worried. This was the first time they were seeing an ancient monument, and everything they knew was from what they had heard about it. Even from news they had heard before, they knew that there would be many cultivators gathered before an ancient monument appeared. 2. The only good news this time was that because of the toxic miasma, they would not have as many competitors. In addition to the trials and traps laid out in the monument, other forces must also not be ignored. It is inevitable that you will have to fight or treasures. Fu Hongbo sighed, trying to fight for the treasures in the monument with their current strength, it was too difficult. The 4 families and the practitioners of Tian Gangzong were not simple, especially since the conflict between Ji Yuner and Bailey Hongzhuang was so fierce. Once the 2 people met inside the monument, Bailey Hongzhuang's situation would be bad. Being confronted in this way was fate, and no one would be willing to give up. Even if hope was very uncertain, very few people have such an unparalleled will. 3. You have to think carefully. If you don't have the confidence, don't go into the monument. Fu Hongbo's eyes were full of seriousness. I have already informed the college about this, and you will certainly be able to go back safely. You must know that you are talented young people. As long as you practice hard, you will be able to succeed in the future. Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan's feeling were very complicated at the moment. On one hand, it would be a pity if someone gave up this opportunity. On the other hand, as teachers, they were also reluctant to see their students suffer injuries. As for the final decision, that could only be made by the students themselves. After the two teachers said this, everyone became silent. The risks involved were indeed worthy of their careful consideration. One BHC is saying that Baisher can't use her powers because other people are present. 2. It should be, from news about previous appearances of ancient monuments, they knew, instead of the current line. However, that is what I think it should be and not what the Ross say. 3. These two lines are in reference to BHC. Although it is not stated explicitly, they mean to say that even if there was a slim chance of victory, with BHC's character, she would still fight. Chapter 488 Lu Qinyu's decision. Lu Qinyu was the most hesitant. A long time ago, her master had told her that her talent in cultivation was not as good as that in alchemy. It was not that her cultivation talent was bad, but that she lacked the courage of cultivators. Although she had never stopped cultivating because of this, she still devoted the most energy to practice alchemy. She had originally told Master to not be too concerned about her. Since the past 2 times Yi Huqing appeared, she had understood more what her master meant. Her strength was higher than Bailey Hongzhuang's, but she still needed her help to save herself. This alone had already proved the problem. For the ancient monument, she was naturally full of interest, but when she thought of the dangers inside, she lost her confidence. Under such circumstances, would she still want to go? After Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu pondered for a moment, their stance on this became more firm. This kind of opportunity was rare. Once missed, it wasn't necessary that they will have it again in this lifetime. If they gave up now because they were not strong enough, they would surely regret it in the future. Cui Haoyan, Zhang Yunfeng, Bai Junyu and Xia Zhiqing also made their decision after struggling for a moment. They must absolutely not regret their choices. Bailey Hongzhuang had never changed her stance from beginning to end. Giving up on something just because it was dangerous, that was not her style. Di Beichen was also the same. When he sees an opportunity, he was happy to pounce on it. How could he give up just because of some danger? After everyone made their decision, Lu Qinyu suddenly said, I have decided to go back to the college. Hearing Lu Qinyu's words, everyone stopped for a moment, but soon they understood her decision. An alchemist was an extremely rare talent. Once she became an alchemist, she was doomed to become rich and wealthy. What's more, Lu Qinyu's talent in alchemy was outstanding and she was recognized as a genius alchemist. She simply does not need to take this risk. Lu Huaiyan nodded slightly. Well, I've already informed the college. They will release a signal flare when they arrive outside the miasma forest. When you see the signal flare, then go, that will be safer. There were still a large number of cultivators outside the miasma forest. After the arrival of the 4 families, the outsiders would be even more eager to enter. If Lu Qinyu went out hastily, she would surely be apprehended by everyone. Only by someone from the college waiting outside will be able to guarantee her safety. Hearing this, Lu Qinyu nodded her head and said, I understand. You're safe right now, stay here. Fu Hongbo felt a bit relieved. Lu Huaiyan's eyes fell on the crowd. Since you have already decided to go in, you must be careful tomorrow. We cannot predict what kind of traps will be in there. Everyone can only react spontaneously and help themselves. We understand. Everyone responded. Inside the monument, even if their teachers were present, they cannot guarantee their safety. The only one they could rely on was themselves. As cultivators, they are always exposed to countless risks. From the day they walked down this road, they had been ready. The people once again started cultivating, but the mood was significantly heavier. Gong Dage, you must be careful tomorrow, I won't accompany you this time. Chapter 489 Di Bei Chen's fear. There was a slight hesitation and fear on that gentle and charming face, as Lu Qingyu gazed at Gong Shaoqing. Gong Shaoqing nodded, you are right, there is a lot of risks here, no one knows what the final result will be. Gong Dage, with our strength it is too risky. Lu Qinyu's beautiful face was slightly wrinkled. The Ji family has many strong cultivators. Regardless of the risk of the monument, it will be the added risk of meeting the Ji family. If they see that you have got a treasure, they will surely forcibly rob you. It's too dangerous. It's better. Without waiting for Lu Qinyu to finish her sentence, Gong Shaoqing had already interrupted her. You don't have to say more, such a good chance, I will not give up. Lu Qinyu would like to continue talking about this, but after seeing Gong Shaoqing's firmness, the words she had not yet said were swallowed back. Then, Gong Dage, I'll be waiting for you at the college. Lu Qinyu said gently, voice full of tenderness and love. She had been stubbornly studying at the Tsanglan College instead of studying directly at the Alchemists' Guild like Wei Mei Dai, and a large part of the reason was Gong Shaoqing. Only at the Tsanglan College could she always be with Gong Shaoqing. She was afraid that she would never see Gong Shaoqing after she returned to the college. She was completely unable to afford it. I will go back first. Gong Shaoqing said slowly. Lady, the ancient monument will open tomorrow. Are you afraid? Di Bei Chen asked with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head to see Di Bei Chen's bright smile like the stars over the horizon, shining and dazzling her. Her petal-like red lips lifted slightly as Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, I don't really feel afraid. Instead, I have only excitement in my heart. Fear was always a useless emotion. Since she had already decided to do it, fear has no meaning. Instead of wasting time on fear, it was better to think calmly about what to do next. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent look, Di Bei Chen's eyes were full of appreciation as he smiled warmly. My wifey is very different from ordinary women. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her elegant brows. You aren't? So to say, we are a match made in heaven. Di Bei Chen blinked deliberately as he questioned. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Bei Chen to see his smile, this guy was really shameless. I think that if you are able to hide your power, you will be able to win more things tomorrow. Tomorrow you need to be careful, we are going in together, you know? Di Bei Chen stared at Bailey Hongzhuang as he put away his previously joking manner, his eyes full of seriousness. Seeing the undisguised fear and tension in Di Bei Chen's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart thumped as she nodded. Good. Di Bei Chen smiled. Although his wife was not afraid or fearful, he was afraid that she would get injured. Right now, for him, what kind of treasure was in that monument was secondary, and the safety of Bailey Hongzhuang was the most important. Not far away, Han Shiling stared at this scene, a hint of abnormal emotion flashing in her eyes. Unknowingly, Ji Yuner had come to stand beside Han Shiling, her face had a slight smile as she asked tentatively, Han Shiling, do you like Bailey Hongzhuang? Chapter 490 Eating Loss. Ji Yuner. Han Shiling looked coldly at Ji Yuner beside her. A hint of cold indifference appeared in her eyes. If I think she is pleasing to the eye or not, how is that related to you? Feeling Han Shiling's indifference, Ji Yuner also did not care as she sat down beside her. I'm just asking you. This Bailey Hongzhuang is not strong enough to be the member of a cultivation family and is an ordinary commoner. Di Bei Chen even gave you up for such a woman. I really don't know what he is thinking. What do you think? Ji Yuner grinned, in fact, this was her own idea. Listening to Ji Yuner's words, Han Shiling was still quiet, as if what she had just said had nothing to do with her. Do you really want to let Bailey Hongzhuang be with Di Beichen? When Ji Yuner got no response, she asked this. Han Shiling's mouth curved in a ridiculing smile as she coldly said, I don't need you to be worried about me. I'm sorry, I don't have the habit of yielding and being used by other people. Ji Yuner's face changed slightly. Wasn't it that all women would lose their senses if they faced such things? Why was it that Han Shiling was so calm after all this? Han Shiling, you misunderstood me. I don't have such an idea. The smile on Ji Yuner's lips widened a bit, Han Shiling's identity as not low. If she offended her, there would be no benefits. Just watching Bailey Hongzhuang makes me very upset. If you are interested, we can properly deal with her in the monument. Han Shiling chuckled, you see her and getting a bad mood is your business, I do not have interest in it. If you have nothing else to say, I want to cultivate. Seeing Han Shiling's attitude so cold and determined, Ji Yuner's face was a bit ugly. She did not understand why Han Shiling's reaction was completely different from her imagination. Is it that Han Shiling does not like Di Beichen? Impossible. The idea was dispelled by Ji Yuner as soon as it emerged. By her intuition as a woman, Han Shiling's feelings for Di Beichen were not ordinary. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Han Shiling with her arrogance to have been behind him so many years. Since she couldn't understand why Han Shiling's attitude was like this, Ji Yuner could only return back to her place angrily, and she did not conceal the anger on her face. Han Shiling was not an easy person to bully, but now she had been looked down on by both Bailey Hongzhuang and Han Shiling. This made her really mad. Lin Yirou, Yan Lingxian, and Huang Fuhui looked at Ji Yuner's frustrated look and their eyes were filled with gloating laughter. Ji Yuner's temper was not good, so there were not many people who could really be friends with her. They and Ji Yuner just acted cordially towards each other as children of various powers, they weren't even true friends. Ji Yuner's expression is really interesting, Yan Lingxian said with a chuckle. On a normal day, she is so arrogant that I fear my arrogance is not worth mentioning. She thought that Han 11 Ling would be like her. However, Han Shiling is not like average people. Huang Fuhui said as he laughed. Lin Yirou smiled at Huang Fuhui, her eyes full of wisdom. Ji Yuner sees things as too simple. In my opinion, even if Han Shiling hates Bailey Hongzhuang, she will never admit it with that arrogant temper of hers. Not to mention, if Han Shiling wanted to deal with someone, she would need someone's help. In Yan Lingxian's eyes, a touch of emotion appeared, and after careful consideration, he felt that Lin Yirou was extremely reasonable and could not help but admire her. Lin Yirou, I did not think you see through things so clearly, ah. Lin Yirou's soft lips slightly curved, not because of Yan Lingxian's words, but because she did not feel the slightest sense of accomplishment. I don't look through things clearly. I am only a bit more perceptive than others, and am clear about those around me. Yan Lingxian looked at Lin Yirou softly. At this moment, he discovered that Lin Yirou was also a smart young woman. In the past, Lin Yirou always had a quiet temperament, not talking often, plus with Ji Yuner who was always active and attracted everyone's attention, he did not pay close attention to Lin Yirou. Until he heard Lin Yirou's remarks and discovered her intelligence. Sure enough, none of the outstanding disciples of the big families would be simple figures. Time flew by, and a night passed, and most of the ancient monument had now been revealed from the ground. The guardian beast's roar was also fiercer. Bailey Hongzhuang took in the sight in front of her eyes. The ancient monument was comparable to an entire imperial palace. The white building in the shadow of the sun and the whiteness of the atmosphere gave off an unspeakable sacred feeling. From this tall and majestic building, a sense of grandeur emanated, leaving people in awe. Outside the monument, the faint light, like a layer of water, reflected colorfully under the sun's rays. It was beautiful. However, none of the cultivators present there were in a mood to pay attention to this beauty. What they were interested in was if the ban had been lifted. This monument has been buried in the ground for so many years and the ban is still so strong. The strength of this monument's owner is evident. Lu Huaiyan's face was full of admiration. Practitioners who could build ancient monuments were the strong ones who had made a name for themselves. Facing such a strong person, they couldn't help but admire. He was already very lucky to have seen this monument, but if he could become such a strong person in the future, how happy he would be. With the passage of time, the energy of the ban is gradually dissipating. By evening, the ban will completely disappear. Fu Hongbo's eyes were full of wisdom. From yesterday to today, the energy of the ban was dissipating. Inside, he felt a little heavy. Once the ban disappears, the guardian beast will come out and the guardian beast's attacks will be very powerful. You must be more careful. Fu Hongbo nodded, his eyes falling on Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. When the ban dissipates, we will retreat. The guardian beast is of a high rank. You are not its opponents. If you are too close, you can accidentally get hurt. I don't know what the guardian beast is, it has actually been alive for so many years. It will surely be powerful. It should be a Qing Tian Mo alligator. Di Bei Chen said slowly. Hearing Di Bei Chen's words, everyone's faces changed. The Qing Tian Mo alligator, it was an extremely fierce demonic beast. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo did not doubt Di Bei Chen's words. With Di Bei Chen's background, it was natural his knowledge was vast. Since Di Bei Chen was so sure, it should be true. Her clear and refined face showed her surprise. Bailey Hongzhuang had not expected Di Bei Chen to be able to judge which guardian beast it was just from listening to the guardian beast's howls. If Baisher had not told her, even she would not know that the guardian beast inside was a Qing Tian Mo alligator. It seems that Di Bei Chen's knowledge of demonic beasts was really deep. This Qing Tian Mo alligator has been locked in the monument for so many years, and it has absorbed a lot of the toxic miasma. I'm afraid its strength can't be compared with a normal demonic beast. Di Bei Chen's eyes were full of a wisdom. His master had often traveled with him, so he has a lot of knowledge. Many demonic beasts were ordinary, but in certain special circumstances, they would evolve and become different, and these demonic beasts were more powerful and others should always be careful in front of them. This Qing Tian Mo alligator has been trapped for so many years. The food in the monument must be over already. It will be very hungry. Once it comes out, it will be very manic, and its strength will be very scary. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. She knew quite a lot about ancient monuments. Once the monument was buried, nobody knew when it would be revealed. Therefore, the guardian beasts of many monuments would be starved to death, but if the guardian beast survives, their strength would become very scary, especially the moment the guardian beast was released from the ruins. It would be manic and treat everyone as its food. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's insights, others nodded. I seem that they really should be farther away from this guardian beast. We should retreat to some distance away. Sometimes, these guardian beasts will come out when the ban has not completely lifted. Just in case, we should go back now. Bailey Hongzhuang continued after feeling a wave of fluctuations from the monument. The others were a bit surprised. According to their understanding, the guardian beasts should not be able to come out before the ban had completely dissipated. We have to be careful, we should retreat some distance. Xia Zhiqing agreed. The others also didn't have any objections. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang walk towards the back, Ji Yun'er's ridicule-filled voice rang out. You really have no strength, the guardian beast has not even come out yet and you are already afraid and hiding. You are so bold, if you have the ability, come to stand here and don't stay back. Ji Yun'er's eyes were full of pride. A person born a plebeian will stay such. Before a ban has dissipated, it is impossible for a guardian beast to come out. However, just as Ji Yun'er's voice fell, the eyes of Xia Zhiqing and the others went very wide as they looked in front of them with horror. You idiot, take a good look at what's behind you. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. She no longer felt like paying mind to this idiot Ji Yun, and she quickly retreated a few hundred meters away along with Di Beichen. Ji Yuner listened to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, her mouth arcing up disdainfully. You want to cheat me with this silly trick? Do you think I was born yesterday? Ah. Miss, get back fast. At this point, the cultivators beside Ji Yuner quickly shouted. Ji Yuner's face changed as she looked behind in surprise. She only saw a giant blue-eyed devil alligator running out of the ancient ruin. Ah! Ji Yuner screamed, her entire person scared silly by the sudden appearance of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Chapter 493 A Shameless Idiot. Oh! The Qing Tian Mo alligator opened its bloody mouth and suddenly headed towards Ji Yuner. When the cultivators of the Ji family saw this, they quickly retreated with Ji Yuner towards the back. Oh! The Qing Tian Mo alligator apparently had not expected that the food about to enter its mouth would suddenly fly off, and his heart burst with dissatisfaction. With an angry flick of his tail, he had destroyed the trees next to him. The sudden appearance of the Qing Tian Mo alligator surpassed everyone's expectations. If not for everyone's eyes were locked onto the ancient monument, it is feared that many cultivators would have already died the moment the Qing Tian Mo alligator appeared. After Ji Yuner escaped, she was pale and stood in the distance, breathing heavily, her face full of horror. If it wasn't for the cultivators of her family who had pulled her away, she feared that she would have already become food for the Qing Tian Mo alligator. How could a Qing Tian Mo alligator appear so suddenly? Not to mention that a guardian beast cannot come out before the ban is lifted. Yan Lingxian was shocked. If he hadn't responded quickly enough, he didn't know what kind of consequences he would be facing. At the moment, Huang Fuhui could no longer keep his aloof appearance. There are few traces of guardian beasts in a monument, so many people do not understand the situation well. Then, everyone's eyes could not help but fall on Bali Hongzhuang's body. All of they had not known that the Qing Tian Mo alligator would suddenly appear, but Bailey Hongzhuang, who had elegantly retorted, knew and had retreated along with the people of her college. Could there really be such a coincidence in the world? Or was it possible that Bailey Hongzhuang expected that the Qing Tian Mo alligator would appear earlier than expected, and thus reminded the students of the Tsanglan College to stay away? The hearts of the people were full of a complex feeling. However, after careful consideration, everyone thought that this was impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang to say such things out of luck. It was very likely that Bailey Hongzhuang had already expected this. At the thought of this, everyone's faces became even more puzzled. They only thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was not an ordinary person, but with this move of Bailey Hongzhuang, they were even more sure that Bali Hongzhuang was not an ordinary person. Hey, aren't you very powerful? How can your expression be so scared at this moment? Bailey Hongzhuang lifted her chin slightly, the corners of her mouth lifting in an enchanting laugh as she mocked Ji Yuner mercilessly. She had always been a person who gifted upon others what they gave to her. Since Ji Yuner had taken the initiative to find trouble with her, she also didn't mind laughing at Ji Yuner. Ji Yuner's face was very pale. At the moment, after listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, her hatred for her became even more intense. Nonetheless, she was now not even qualified to ridicule Bailey Hongzhuang now. You just had some good luck, so what? Ji Yuner pondered for a moment and could only say this as a retort. Bailey Hongzhuang said lightly, what do you think about how you look right now? You look so pale and scared, not at all gutsy. Xia Zhiqing and the others had a smile on their faces. Ji Yuner's previous words were skillfully countered with this and they snorted in laughter. Instead of her mocking Bailey Hongzhuang, Ji Yuner had been turned into a joke. Han Xiling slyly glimpsed at Ji Yuner, her eyes full of disgust. Idiot. Fortunately, she didn't say anything to this idiot, or even she would have lost face along with this idiot. Chapter 49 Attacking the Qing Tian Mo alligator. When the Qing Tian Mo alligator appeared, its bloodthirsty eyes were locked onto the people and its bloody mouth was open to reveal blood and watery drool. In the ancient monument, it had been hungry for a long time. It had not expected to see so much food as soon as it came out. It was worth it. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at the Qing Tian Mo alligator in front of them. Seeing the Qing Tian Mo alligator's entirely blue body, black lines appeared on her forehead. Its eyes were black and ball-sized, exuding a ruthlessness as it stared at them. Dense scales covered its entire body, making it more menacing. The Qing Tian Mo alligator was a kind of hard-to-find demonic beast. Its scales were hard and ordinary weapons would not be able to penetrate it at all. Not only that, the Qing Tian Mo alligator was also extremely powerful, and its giant tail was a great weapon. One sweep of the tail would be able to knock down many heavy objects. Once hit by its tail, a cultivator is most likely to vomit and die. At this moment, the Qing Tian Mo alligator was grunting and watching the crowd as it fantasized about food, thinking which one it should eat first. I didn't expect that the guardian beast in the monument would turn out to be a Qing Tian Mo alligator. It will be difficult to deal with it. Yan Lingxian frowned. It seems that the owner of this monument was even more powerful than we imagined. The strength of the Qing Tian Mo alligator is already at the Huang, yellow, border. In my opinion, it will be impossible to defeat the Qing Tian Mo alligator with the power of a single family. It won't be as effective as everyone attacking and killing the Qing Tian Mo alligator together. How about it? One of Ji family's cultivators said. Hearing those words, the powerful exponents in the crowd nodded. Good. Everyone will join hands to kill this Qing Tian Mo alligator. In the face of such a powerful demonic beast, the younger generation was simply not its opponents. Only by relying on them will this trouble be solved. Lu Huaiyan and the Fu Hongbo looked at each other, then nodded together before immediately rushing towards the Qing Tian Mo alligator. You stay in place, don't come. Their voice sounded in the ears of Bailey Hongzhuang and the other people. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo had already disappeared from in front of them. Since the 4 cultivation families and the cultivators of Tian Gangzong had already contributed, if they continued to stay in place while doing nothing, it would not be right. Since they came here, they will try to find the treasures within the monument. If they did not contrite at this moment, once the Qing Tian Mo alligator has died, the 4 cultivation families and the cultivators of Tian Gangzong may not even let them enter the monument. At that time they would be helpless. Seeing the actions of the 2 teachers, the eyes of Gog Shaoqing and the others gradually changes. It was not easy for the 2 teachers. Khgh, the Qing Tian Mo alligator snarled as it saw so many cultivators rushing towards it, a flash of excitement flashing in its eyes. It felt very hungry, and these morsels or food had arrived automatically. Xing. The sound of iron and other metal types of long swords slashing onto the Qing Tian Mo alligator's body came. However, the fierce attack that fell on its body did not even pierce the scales of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, only a shallow white mark was left on the scales. Damn it! This Qing Tian Mo alligator's defense is too strong. The face of the master from Ji family was a bit ugly. Although he had known that the Qing Tian Mo alligator would not be easy to deal with, he had not thought that the defense of the Qing Tian Mo alligator would have metamorphosed so abnormally. Chapter 495 Only slightly worse, Qing Tian Mo alligator O. After the first cultivator tried, the attacks of other masters fell onto the body of Qing Tian Mo alligator. The same attack still could not break the defense of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, and the huge tail of the alligator kept sweeping them away. The crowd could only escape constantly while looking for opportunities to attack. Faced with the attacks of the crowd, the Qing Tian Mo alligator was still very calm. These kinds of forceful attacks fell on him but felt like tickles. We will attack the same place, we have to find a breakthrough and opportunity. Lu Huaiyan's Yuan Li condensed as he shouted. Listening to Lu Huaiyan's words, the exponents of the four families and Tian Gangzong only nodded. This was the only way they could proceed now. The only weakness of the Qing Tian Mo alligator was its abdomen, but attacking there was near impossible because of the alligator's short legs. Together with its constantly biting head and sweeping tail, they had no way to attack the Qing Tian Mo alligator. The alligator's abdomen was even more out of reach. As a result, Lu Huaiyan's approach became the only solution. Ding! Oh! After deciding on the attack method, everyone concentrated their attacks on the same area. The original hard scales were inevitably shattered under everyone's attacks and blood flowed from the back of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Suddenly, the tingling sensation turned to pain, stimulating the Qing Tian Mo alligator as its snarls became more fierce, and its attacks also became fiercer. Thunk! Every time the Qing Tian Mo alligator took a step, a terrible noise was heard from the ground. It was like an earthquake, making the people feel shocked. With the fierce attacks of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, many cultivators were injured. Boom! A cultivator of the Ji family was swept away by the giant tail of the Qing Tian Mo alligator and flew backward. The huge force made his viscera feel on fire as his entire body was shocked by the impact. Ah! Another scream rang out. A cultivator had been bitten by the Qing Tian Mo alligator. RGH. The Qing Tian Mo alligator grunted as it chewed twice before swallowing the practitioner directly. A rich yellow light shone around the body of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. With the increasing number of wounds on the Qing Tian Mo alligator, the number of wounded cultivators was also increasing. I did not expect this demonic beast to be this scary. Bai Junyu's face did not conceal his shock. He had always known that demonic beasts at the Huang, Yellow, border were very scary, but he had never seen it with his own eyes. He had not felt how strong they could be. The strength of these cultivators was already very strong in his opinion, but in front of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, they were weak. This was the terrifying power of the congenital realm. Nothing will happen to the two teachers, right? Lu Qinyu's face was full of fear. In this group of people, the strength of the two teachers was not very strong, they could get hurt. Blood dripped down Lu Huaiyan's mouth, he had already suffered a heavy blow. Under such circumstances, a single careless move would cost him his life. I believe that with the strength of the two teachers, they will not be in danger. Xia Zhiqing murmured, both eyes staring intently at the situation, her heart full of worries. Dong Fangyu and Gong Shaoqing's face was dignified. This Qing Tian Mo alligator has been injured by the attack of so many people, I believe that it will not be able to persist for a long time. Only a fatal wound can kill the Qing Tian Mo alligator, Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Chapter 496 Are They Crazy? When Bailey Hongzhuang's words sounded, Di Bei Chen and she looked at each other. They understood each other's thoughts. In the next moment, before everyone's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Bei Chen had rushed directly towards where the Qing Tian Mo alligator was. What are they going to do? Xia Zhiqing could not help but exclaim, the Qing Tian Mo alligator was a demonic beast at the Huang, Yellow, border with Bailey Hongzhuang's strength, fighting with the Qing Tian Mo alligator was tantamount to looking for death. As soon as this remark came out, some other people's eyes also condensed on the body of the two people, everyone felt somewhat bizarre. The masters of the various forces had not killed the Qing Tian Mo alligator, what could Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Bei Chen, these two people do? This Bailey Hongzhuang is too overconfident, really finding death. Ji Yun'er's voice was full of ridicule, her eyes full of viciousness, the scene that had happened just before had made her lose face in front of all people. Regardless, she must get it back. She was the glorious young miss of the Ji family, being ridiculed so by Bailey Hongzhuang, where would her pride go? I didn't expect that with Di Bei Chen's great strength, his sight in choosing women would be so poor. Ji Yun'er said, her words full of disdain. In front of so many people, Bewitching had not given her any face. At this moment, she even hated Bewitching. Bewitching is acting a bit too impulsively. In such a situation, rushing forward is no different from looking for death, Huang Fuhui frowned. Even Lin Yi-ro, who had always been more intelligent than others, was somewhat puzzled. Could it be that Bewitching had a way of dealing with the Qing Tian Mo alligator? Judging from the current situation, although the Qing Tian Mo alligator had been injured, it was still obviously very powerful. Once they rushed in, they would surely be attacked by the Qing Tian Mo alligator. This was a reckless decision. Maybe the two of them really are confident. Yan Lingxian said as his eyebrows rose. He looked rather uncomfortable. For excellent geniuses, like them, one less competition was not a bad thing. Han Shiling's face that had been indifferent since beginning to end, changed a bit after seeing Bewitching rush forward. Big Brother, staring at the two figures, one white and one gold, she could not help but frown. Originally, the person who could be next to Big Brother was only her. Others may not understand the strength of Bewitching, but she had known her big brother for so many years, so she still understands the situation of Bewitching. If he had rushed forward, Big Brother certainly had an idea of how to kill the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Bewitching had not thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would rush alongside with him. However, after seeing the confident appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang, a faint smile appeared on his lips. What they both needed to do was not to fight the Qing Tian Mo alligator, but to attack. You go left, I'll take right. As they appeared in front of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, Bailey Hongzhuang shouted. Okay. Bewitching also yelled. The next moment, they two people rushed forward to the two sides of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo saw that Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang had suddenly appeared under such circumstances, and their faces were filled with intense tension. You brats! What are you two doing here? Lu Huaiyan's voice was filled with anger and worry. In such a situation, even if they were both in danger and risk, why had these two people rushed forward? The attack power of the Qing Tian Mo alligator was so terrible that they can't protect the two of them. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled before saying, Teacher, don't worry about us. Chapter 497 is not simple. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo were both confused. In the face of such a dangerous situation, the two did not have the time to think too much. They only knew that Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang were not impulsive people. Since they had rushed forwards, they must already have plans. Bailey Hongzhuang used her shifting shadow technique and had already jumped onto the back of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. After the Qing Tian Mo alligator felt that someone was on it, its entire body began to shake constantly, only wanting to shake off Bailey Hongzhuang from its back. Bailey Hongzhuang had a sword in her hand. Her eyes had been set on the wounds of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. The next moment, she did not hesitate to pierce the back of the Qing Tian Mo alligator using the sharp sword in her hand. KCH. A clear and subtle voice sounded, and Bailey Hongzhuang's body had deeply pierced the alligator's body. Oh! The sudden and intense pain deeply spurred the Qing Tian Mo alligator, as it suddenly snarled and madly rioted. All of a sudden, the masters next to the Qing Tian Mo alligator were all stunned and had to recede. Once the Qing Tian Mo alligator went berserk, its fighting power would be even scarier. The people looked in horror at the entanglement of Bailey Hongzhuang and the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Regardless of how the Qing Tian Mo alligator swayed, Bailey Hongzhuang stayed on its back. Not only that, but the blade she had used to stab the Qing Tian Mo alligator was still embedded in its body, as blood continued to spill out. Yan Lingxian and the others were surprised. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, their eyes were even more incredulous. Just climbing onto the Qing Tian Mo alligator's back already required great courage, not to mention that Bailey Hongzhuang was currently in such a dangerous position. My God, Bailey Hongzhuang is too strong, right? Xia Zhiqing opened her mouth wide, looking sluggish. She had never imagined that Bailey Hongzhuang would climb onto the alligator's back. By June you swallowed. If it wasn't for the scene occurring right before him, he wouldn't have believed it. The cultivators who were dealing with the Qing Tian Mo alligator were too afraid to climb onto its back. In addition to Bailey Hongzhuang, not many can do this. Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu were both silent. They had to admit that this method Bailey Hongzhuang had come up with was really excellent. In a short period of time, the injured the Qing Tian Mo alligator suffered had become more and more serious. Ji Yuner, who had been taunting, could not speak. In fact, such a move by Bailey Hongzhuang really made people feel uncomfortable. This Bailey Hongzhuang is really not simple. Huang Fuhui chuckled, the eyes watching Bailey Hongzhuang became bright. Han Shiling felt a hint of embarrassment, and negative emotions flashed in her eyes. She had always been conceited, she always thought that she could do this and that she was the best. She just did not want to bother wasting her time. Now seeing other people's gazes, her heart was full of unpleasant feelings. If these gazes had been directed at somebody else, she might not have cared, but since the person was Bailey Hongzhuang, it was not the same. Oh! The Qing Tian Mo alligator swept away, and the ground cracked under the force of its huge till. The situation of Bailey Hongzhuang was also very dangerous, but she escaped narrowly and dangerously every time. Finally, after the Qing Tian Mo alligator could no longer withstand the pain from behind, it turned over. Chapter 498 Witty Lady. The Qing Tian Mo alligator turned to its back very quickly, with almost no sign, its entire body collapsed to the ground. Obviously, it wanted to flatten the nasty guy who was on its back. Bailey Hongzhuang's speed of response was also very fast. She jumped down as soon as the Qing Tian Mo alligator was about to turn over. However, everyone has not seen the sharp reaction of Bailey Hongzhuang. A pale golden figure had already rushed towards the belly of the Qing Tian Mo alligator with a lightning speed. Everyone present was aware that the biggest weakness of the Qing Tian Mo alligator was its abdomen. There was no defense on the white skin. At this moment, attacking the Qing Tian Mo alligator's belly was naturally the best thing. Laugh! A fierce light from a double-edged sword flashed, and everyone merely heard the sound of flesh tearing. Then, the Qing Tian Mo alligator's body burst as if ready to explode as it got ready for another round. The power of a Huang border cultivation broke out. After seeing this scene, Di Beichen and the others did not dare to delay as they quickly retreated. They all saw the Qing Tian Mo alligator's red eyes. All the people there knew what this was. It was the berserk state. This is the berserk state of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Everyone should retreat. It was a wonder who shouted, but the people reacted quickly, not daring to delay by even half a second. They fled. The Qing Tian Mo alligator madly chased everyone. The powerful Yuan Li attacks were desperate, and the surrounding trees fell from its force. Damn, the berserk state of this Qing Tian Mo alligator is really very horrifying. Yan Lingxian ran away while cursing. Di Beichen looked for Bailey Hongzhuang, who had jumped away just moment before the Qing Tian Mo alligator flattened her. Both their attack had fatally injured the guardian beast. With the strength of Qing Tian Mo alligator, its speed was extremely fast, so they only had one chance. No matter whether they were successful or not, for now, they could only leave. But, obviously, he succeeded. One hand pulled Bailey Hongzhuang in the rush, as Di Beichen greeted her with a bright smile. Wifey is really witty, your strength is comparable to a cultivator in the congenital realm. The previous move made by Bailey Hongzhuang must have looked simple to some, but it was not very easy to succeed in it. In addition, it was extremely dangerous. However, the performance of Bailey Hongzhuang surprised him. Although she was in such a dangerous situation, there was no panic. Her beautiful face was so cool that it was unbelievable. Your timing was also very accurate. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly, her beautiful face gazing at Di Beichen beside her. It seems that the way they cooperated was still very good. The Qing Tian Mo alligator should not be able to persist for long. Let's take a rest. After running some distance away, Di Beichen sat near a tree trunk, his entire attitude relaxed and casual. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She could feel the movement of the Qing Tian Mo alligator struggling in the distance as it became fainter and fainter. She believed that the Qing Tian Mo alligator must also be exhausted. Oh, the Qing Tian Mo alligator isn't moving anymore. Is it dead? Xia Zhiqing's eye flashed with curiosity. Previously she had felt the entire ground was trembling. If they had not known better, they would have thought it that an earthquake had occurred then. It should be, but we will not go over at the moment. Maybe the Qing Tian Mo alligator is not dead yet. Gong Shaoqing said with a sigh. Some demonic beasts will continue to grow in intellect after attaining a certain level of cultivation. They must be careful. Chapter 499. If you want, I will accompany you. Previously, I had looked down on this Bailey Hongzhuang. With her cultivation being just at the mysterious Ian, and having so much courage, it is rare. Yan Lingxian shook his head in exclamation. Before he had thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was really courageous with the way she treated Ji Yuner, but he had not expected her to be just as fearless in battle. Seeing Yan Lingxian's admiration for Bailey Hongzhuang, a touch of dissatisfaction appeared in the eyes of Ji Yuner, and her next words also had a hint of sourness. What's so great, can't everyone do that? Ji Yuner snorted. This kind of thing is not worthy of us personally fighting. As children of cultivation families, they had no need to undertake a task personally when the time came to fight. Ji Yuner, if you haven't eaten the grapes, don't say they are sour. Even if you do it, I am afraid you won't be much better than Bailey Hongzhuang. Lin Yi-ro said softly as she looked at Ji Yuner. Such an attitude, she did not like people like Ji Yuner. In fact, if Bailey Hongzhuang had also been from a cultivation family, she believed that Bailey Hongzhuang would be among the young generation of powers. Lin Yi-ro, what do you mean by that? Ji Yuner stepped forward, and a trace of anger appeared on her face. Since yesterday, Lin Yi-ro had been praising Bailey Hongzhuang from time to time. It was clear that she was taking the opportunity to mock her. What do I mean? I am just telling the truth. Lin Yi-ro felt quite indifferent. She did not care about Ji Yuner's question. Ji Yuner, you should know that with who I am, others may be afraid of you, but I don't have a reason to be. Lin Yi-ro whispered softly, an indifferent and cold expression appearing on her gentle face. Han Shilin looked at that conflict between Ji Yuner and Lin Yi-ro, a very strange feeling appearing in her heart. It seemed that although Lin Yi-ro appeared soft and weak, underneath there was a strong heart. Ji Yuner obviously did not expect that Lin Yi-ro would go against her, and her face turned ugly. I don't have the time to squabble with you. After we come out of the ancient monument, we will slowly settle this account. If you want to, I will accompany you. Lin Yi-ro softly raised her eyebrows, not putting Ji Yuner's words in her heart. Master, the Qing Tian Mo alligator is dead. Baisher's voice screamed in Bailey Hongzhuang's head. Then we should go now. Bailey Hongzhuang said. Master, I want the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Baisher squinted his small eyes, eagerly looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, thinking of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. The demonic crystal of it was very good. The Qing Tian Mo alligator was a Huang border demonic beast. The energy in its demonic core would also be very rich. It would be much higher than normal demonic crystals. It would really be very great for him. Bailey Hongzhuang felt a bit awkward, but she had completely forgotten about her contractual beast who would gobble demonic cores in seconds. Looking at the light flashing in the starlight, yes, it was impossible to refuse. I am going to get the demonic core. Di Bei-chen looked at the sudden change in Bailey Hung Zhuang's expression, his handsome face filled with a trace of incomprehensibility. Wifey, what is the problem? Bailey Hung Zhuang slightly shook her head, then pointed at the little guy in her arms, saying, "This little guy wants to eat the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator." Hearing this, Di Bei-chen also reacted. The Beast King always liked to eat demonic cores. The Beast King is still young, the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator will be no small help for him. We should get the demonic core of the alligator now. Di Bei-chen said slowly, brimming with confidence. Bailey Hung Zhuang also agreed, she would not let go of anything that could help Baishe. The next moment, Bailey Hung Zhuang and Di Bei-chen no longer hesitated as they quickly flew to the place where the alligator was. Master, the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator is very valuable. I am afraid that this group of people will not let you take the demonic core so easily. Xiao Hei's eyes had a touch of worry in them, for those guys' attitude, he was knowledgeable. Even if the Qing Tian Mo alligator had been killed under the joint effort of their master and Di Bei-chen, but because the strength of their team is not strong, it would not be easy to get it back from them. Bailey Hung Zhuang's eyes were slightly dazed, a touch of sorrow flitting past like lightning, before turning fierce and decisive. Since it is something I want, I have no reason to let others take it. Her cold voice was as arrogant as ever. It is not easy to take away the thing that she, Bailey Hung Zhuang, wanted. Seeing Bailey Hung Zhuang be so domineering, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai also felt excited. This group of people had to hand over the demonic core. If they don't give it back, they will show them their power. Soon, Bailey Hung Zhuang and Di Bei-chen returned back to the front of the monument. The originally flat ground was now a mess, and there were more than one deep or shallow pits scattered all over the ground. It could be seen how terrible the attack power of the Qing Tian Mo alligator was. At the moment, the leader of the Ji family was cutting the head of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, apparently wanting to take out the demonic core of the guardian beast. Seeing this situation, Bailey Hung Zhuang walked to the front of Ji Jianbin. This demonic core is useful to me. If you don't mind, give the demonic core back to me. As soon as she said this, the faces of the cultivators around them all changed. Ji Jianbin looked at Bailey Hung Zhuang, feeling a bit hesitant. The value of the Qing Tian Mo alligator's demonic core was not low, but it was not a big thing for their Ji family, not to mention that the Qing Tian Mo alligator had indeed been killed by the hands of Di Bei-chen and Bailey Hung Zhuang. His eyes turned to look at Di Bei-chen, and Ji Jianbin had already determined what to do. A thing like this demonic core was not too important, he did not need to offend Di Bei-chen for it. However, just as Ji Jianbin was ready to nod and give it, Ji Yun'er's voice sounded. No, this demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator belongs to our family. Why should we hand it over to you? Ji Yun'er looked at Bailey Hung Zhuang, her sharp and proud appearance was clearly provocative. Listening to these words, Bailey Hung Zhuang's smile deepened, her gaze sharp as a knife that she used to pierce Ji Yun'er. From beginning to end, you have not done anything. What makes you qualified to have any say over who the demonic crystal belongs to? Not to mention, there were so many masters involved in killing the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Why do you say that this demonic core belongs to your family? Listening to these series of questions from Bailey Hung Zhuang, Ji Yun'er's face became like the bottom of a pan. At this moment, this Bailey Hung Zhuang was still so proud. I said that this demonic crystal belongs to my Ji family. Ji Yun'er did not care what Bailey Hung Zhuang had to say, she had already made up her mind to act like a rogue. After seeing such an attitude from Ji Yun'er, the surrounding cultivators all showed a look of helplessness. Although Ji Yun'er was utterly shrewish, she had never been this capriciously mule-headed. They did not expect that in front of Bailey Hung Zhuang, she would entirely become a troublemaker. If I say so, that demonic core is mine. Her voice was cold, underlying with threats of death and despair, a bright light shining in Bailey Hung Zhuang's eyes. For Ji Yuner this trash, she felt too lazy to even pay attention. For provoking this kind of princess was tantamount to evoking infinite trouble for oneself. No matter what, she did not want to find trouble, it was always Ji Yuner who took the initiative. Not only had she provoked her 3-4 times, at this moment, she was still being unreasonable. In her heart, the anger she felt was inevitable. Listening to the threat in Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Ji Yuner could not help but be furious, but after seeing the pair of eyes, bleak as ice and murderous, her heart was shocked. They pair of big, black yes emitted endless waves of murder. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was not as good as hers, but she still felt a chill run down her spine in the face of such intense murderousness. The beautiful face full of allure was also stained by the blood of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, adding a touch of bloodlust to the perfect face. Bailey Hongzhuang's brilliance was cold, and her pair of black, sharp eyes looked straight at Ji Yuner, who was unable to dodge. The faces of Yan Lingxian and the others were also very strange. It was reasonable to say that Ji Yuner was more powerful than Bailey Hongzhuang, but right now, the situation had been completely reversed. Bailey Hongzhuang's one simple sentence was full of such force. Ji Yuner turned dumb, which was strange. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo looked at each other, the emotions of their faces difficult to cover up. The aura of Bailey Hongzhuang is really something, it can completely suppress that Miss Ji. Fu Hongbo's face was full of doubts. Who is Bailey Hongzhuang? Even the daughter of General will definitely never be able to have such an imposing aura. Lu Huaiyan shook his head, he only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was not simple. I will give you 3 seconds, hand over the demonic core or the consequences after that will be yours to shoulder. Bailey Hongzhuang said, and everyone was able to feel the weight in her words. She didn't want to waste any more time on things other than the ancient monument. Since Ji Yuner likes to find trouble, she did not mind disciplining her. Ji Yuner's entire person had turned dumb. She did not understand how Bailey Hongzhuang was able to pressure her so much, making it very difficult for her to even speak. Di Bei Chen's mouth was arched in an evil smirk, his deep black eyes shining with a little bit of appreciation. It seems that his fears were redundant. His wife had never been easy to bully. Such an imposing aura was enough to shock many people. 3. Bailey Hongzhuang held up 3 fingers, her expression icy. 2. Putting away 1 finger, the look on Bailey Hongzhuang's face was still indifferent, as if it was just a simple countdown. However, everyone present at the scene felt extremely uneasy. Xia Zhiqing deeply admired Bailey Hongzhuang at this moment. Previously that Ji Yuner had been so arrogant, but now she had been completely suppressed by Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 502 Ask You, Keep Dreaming. Such a Hongzhuang is really imposing. It was difficult for Xia Zhiqing to cover up her excited expression. For Ji Yuner's behavior, she had long been dissatisfied. Now that she saw Hongzhuang being so domineering, she felt great in her heart. What happened to that Ji Yuner? Why is she standing there without saying a word? By June you did not understand why Ji Yuner looked so speechless at the moment. You are not Ji Yuner, how can you understand her feelings right now? Gong Shaoqing's voice was very deep. Bailey Hongzhuang's momentum is very strong, and she has completely affected Ji Yuner, so the pressure on Ji Yuner is huge. At the moment, Gong Shaoqing was also awed by Bailey Hongzhuang. Previously, he had felt that it was suspicious for Bailey Hongzhuang to have such great medical qualifications. Now it seems that the background of Bailey Hongzhuang was not as simple as he thought. How can Bailey Hongzhuang's momentum be so strong? Yan Lingxian had previously only thought Bailey Hongzhuang to be a beauty, now he changed his opinion of her. Such a terrible momentum, even he wouldn't be able to anything at all. In his impression, only the head of the family will have such a pressing momentum, even if they say nothing. 1. People would feel a great pressure. There were few young people who had this kind of momentum. There were even fewer people among their generation with it. It was too abnormal for Bailey Hongzhuang to have it. Huang Fuhui, Lin Yirou, and Han Xiling were all silent at the moment. If they said that they would never meet Bailey Hongzhuang head-on, they had to admit it at this moment. 2, 1. After Bailey Hongzhuang said the last word, her momentum disappeared and Ji Yun'er was relieved. If she hadn't kept warning herself that she couldn't agree, she would have already agreed under that pressure. When she thought about that possibility, she felt terrible. That was undoubtedly showing weakness to Bailey Hongzhuang in front of everyone. That is something she can't accept. Even if I don't give the demonic core to you, what can you do about it? Ji Yun'er said strongly at this moment. She would not show any weakness to Bailey Hongzhuang. She understood it extremely clearly. You are not very bright. Bailey Hongzhuang's red lips slowly curved in an enchanting smile, like a blooming devil's snare. 3. It evoked a deadly beauty, but it gave people an indescribable feeling of surprise. If you won't give it to me now, be careful, you don't ask for something from me. 4. Her voice falling, Bailey Hongzhuang was too lazy to even pay attention to Ji Yun'er and went straight back to her team. However, although no one had seen it, Bailey Hongzhuang had already sprayed a powder onto the body of Ji Yun'er. As a qualified physician, her means of poisoning were also very good. She could often sprinkle poison onto others without them noticing it. Everyone was stunned by Bailey Hongzhuang's words. In their hearts, they sighed slightly. Wasn't Bailey Hongzhuang just scaring Ji Yun'er? 5. I will ask you for something. You keep dreaming. Ji Yun'er sneered. This Ji Yun'er is really overdue. Looking at her face, I want to smash her until she turns into a pig. Xiao He waved his fists in anger. There were so many white flowers. 6. They were particularly numerous this year. You don't worry, Master will not let that Ji Yun'er off easy. Xiao Bai said somewhat proudly. He had been with Master for so long. He was also very understanding of their Master's character. Chapter 503 Hurt. Ji Yun'er Baisher's sleek black eyes sparkled with curiosity and intelligence. Their master was not a simple character. Her means were getting stranger and more numerous. Whether it was Bailey Yu Yan or Li Yu Yu, they had all suffered at the hands of their master. They believed that this time, Jia Yun'er would surely suffer. Their master had always been very decisive. As long as it was something that she needs, she would definitely get it. There was no worry for that at all. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferently at the ward on the periphery of the ancient monument. The light of the ward was becoming fainter as time passed. She believed that in some time, the ward would disappear completely. Wifey, what did you do to Ji Yun'er? Di Bei Chen's long brows slanted, as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile. He was very clear about his wife's personality. Since she was so calm, he was afraid that next there would definitely be a show worth watching. As for being the one to draw the shorter end of the stick, she had never been content with it. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile held a deep meaning. Deliberately being mysterious, she said, you wait and see. Ji Yun'er deliberately put the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator into her own yin-yang pouch, mocking, thinking she is someone great, but being able to do nothing more than talk big. Yan Lingxian and the others stared between Ji Yun'er and Bailey Hongzhuang. They always felt that things were not so simple, but where the problem was, they could not think of it. I keep feeling like that Bailey Hongzhuang had done something. Yan Lingxian frowned. However, the scene before had happened in front of all of them, and nothing looked out of place at all. What could she have done? Ji Yun'er sneered. There are so many people present. Didn't she just spout some meaningless words? It was just a bluff. Just now, under Bailey Hongzhuang's pressing momentum, she was pressured until she became dumb, but now she was acting proud again. They did not understand how her brain worked. However, just as Ji Yun'er finished with her words of mockery, her face became strange. Not because of others, but because she suddenly felt a sting on her body. How could this be? Ji Yun'er was puzzled. This string seemed to come from within her body and was piercingly painful. Ah! Ji Yun'er could not help but call out. The pain became more and more intense as time went by, and it gradually exceeded her level of tolerance. Ah, it hurts. Everyone saw that Ji Yun'er's face was twisted up in pain, and their expressions became strange. Miss, what's wrong with you? After seeing this scene, the practitioners of the Ji family couldn't help but ask. It hurts. It hurts. Ji Yun'er shouted, and her tone was more and more anxious. How can it start to hurt without a rhyme or reason? The practitioners of the Ji family were stunned, and their eyes could not help but look towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Previously that Bailey Hongzhuang had told their miss not to come asking for her. Bailey Hongzhuang's was still looking indifferently at the ancient monument, and her eyes never stopped on Ji Yun'er for even a second, as if everything that was happening had nothing to do with her. Damn, how can it hurt so much, I can't stand it. Ji Yun'er's face was pinched in pain, and she felt pain in her every pore, such that she didn't even have a chance to breathe. The Ji family members were looking at Ji Yun'er, and then Ji Yun'er fell onto the ground. Chapter 504 deserves it. Ah, feeling the constant waves of pain, Ji Yun'er felt them to be intolerable, and as the pain became more and more intense, even her internal organs seemed to be hurting. Even though she had experienced a lot of pain in the process of cultivation, it was all nothing compared to the pain she felt at the moment. Ji Yun'er could not bear it as she rolled on the ground. Her luxurious silk dress had become contaminated and muddy, her hair messy and unkempt. If it had been any other time, Ji Yun'er could naturally not stand such an image of themselves, but at this moment she had forgotten everything, only hoping that this pain would reduce by even a few times. Lin Yi-ro and the others first felt strange about Ji Yun'er's reaction, but soon after seeing the pale and sweaty appearance of Ji Yun'er, they understood that this must be related to Bailey Hongzhuang. Today Ji Yun'er really looks like a monkey being played. Lin Yi-ro's eyes were full of disdain. From the beginning to the end, Ji Yun'er had been troubling Bailey Hongzhuang deliberately. The final result was that she had been utterly humiliated by Bailey Hongzhuang. Speaking of that, the current Ji Yun'er looked really pitiful. Yan Lingxian felt the same as he nodded. This time, Ji Yun'er really has been played. This Bailey Hongzhuang, although she is not strong enough, the methods she has are very strange, people can't ignore her. Huang Fuhui could no longer think of Bailey Hongzhuang as an ordinary person without a background because her direct method left even him feeling a bit chilly. Sure enough, any woman that Di Bei Chen liked was definitely not an ordinary person. If they underestimated Bailey Hongzhuang, they were only asking for trouble. For example, look at Ji Yun'er's current state. Han Shiling's slender brows were twisted. From their point of view, Ji Yun'er's current state had definitely been caused by Bailey Hongzhuang. However, just now, she never found any movement on Bailey Hongzhuang's part. So how had she been able to make Ji Yun'er suffer? At the thought of this, Han Shiling became a little more vigilant. This was the first time she had felt threatened by Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang, what did you do to me? Ji Yun'er endured the pain as she questioned Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's brows lifted slightly, looking indifferent as she quietly said, Miss Ji, you cannot blame me like this, there were so many watchful eyes, but I did not do anything. I do not believe it. You must have done something. Ji Yun'er's eyes were hazy, her pretty face twisted in anger and pain. You let me get better soon, or I will not let you go. Despite her words, Bailey Hongzhuang was as placid as the clouds, as if everything Ji Yun'er said had nothing to do with her. Miss Ji's words are really interesting, as if you weren't hurting now, you would let me go. Hearing these words, everyone was stunned. Many people laughed, unable to contain it. What Bailey Hongzhuang had said was true. Even if she relieved Ji Yun'er's pain, Ji Yun'er would still not let her go. In that case, why should she help Ji Yun'er? Die, you horrid woman. Xiao He said coldly. This kind of person needed to be taught a lesson. If they weren't disciplined, their nose would always be towards the sky. It really isn't worth it even to kill her. Xiao Bai's face was full of disdain. Previously that Ji Yun'er's arrogance had been out of limit, but it amounted to nothing now. Bai Shi, that demonic core should fall into your hands after a while. Xiao He said as he looked at Bai Shi. Chapter 505 means, Bailey Hongzhuang. Hearing those words, a touch of excitement appeared in Bai Shi's eyes. As long as he got the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, he would surely have a breakthrough. Thinking of this, Bai Shi couldn't help his happiness. Once he had a breakthrough, he could help his master fight. Looking at Ji Yun'er's expression, she must be in extreme pain. Xia Zhiqing looked at Ji Yun'er, who was rolling on the ground. Even with her strength, she could hardly even speak under the effects of such agony. Bai Junyu nodded. It must be very painful, otherwise she wouldn't have become like this. The next moment, a flower like a smile graced Xia Zhiqing's mouth. Ha! Watching her hurt so much, I feel particularly happy. Bai Junyu thought that Xia Zhiqing's reactions were completely beyond his expectations, but in fact, he too felt that Ji Yun'er deserved such pain. Hongzhuang is really awesome, she even taught such an annoying person a good lesson. Xia Zhiqing's eyes were bright as she smiled. She did not have the ability like Hongzhuang's, but looking at things now, she felt very happy. This Ji Yun'er's background is not weak, and Bailey Hongzhuang has offended her like this. I am afraid that in the future, she will be strongly retaliated against by the Ji family in the future. Unlike Xia Zhiqing, Lu Huaiyan was full of fear. This Ji family had only come to the ancient monument for an experience. They did not bring a lot of people, so others may not feel much, but he knew how terrible the ability of the Ji family was. As long as the Ji family wanted to retaliate against Bailey Hongzhuang would surely fall into endless trouble. You can't blame Bailey Hongzhuang for this. Just with the presence of Di Beichen, that Ji Yun'er can't do anything to Bailey Hongzhuang. It looks like this grudge is impossible to let go of. His low voice a bit helpless as Fu Hongbo shook his head. Now the situation had been set in stone. No matter what Bailey Hongzhuang did, this hatred would continue. Now that the result had been destined, Bailey Hongzhuang naturally had no need for being more reserved. It was better to teach Ji Yun'er a lot of lessons, to make up for all that she had lost. I did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would have such an amazing method despite being such a famed doctor. This is incomparable to normal people. Her pretty face was filled with emotion as even Zhang Yunfeng looked impressed with Bailey Hongzhuang at the moment. Although the status of a doctor could not surpass that of a refining pharmacist in the Xingxian continent, offending a doctor wasn't a wise choice either. Bailey Hongzhuang, did you poison me? Ji Yun'er's eyes widened, her face pale, the veins on her temple bulging as she asked unwillingly. At the same time, the cultivators of the Ji family all glared at Bailey Hongzhuang. Miss Bailey, if you don't hand over the antidote now, then don't blame us for being impolite. One cultivator sighed. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was still light. This is really interesting. I didn't expect such a big family to pour dirty water onto other people's bodies. There are so many people present here. Did you see me poison her? It's wrong for you to do things as you like, it's too unfair. Give her to me. Ji Yun'er sighed in anger. The hatred in her heart for Bailey Hongzhuang had reached an extreme. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang fell into their hands, she would make sure she never had a better day again. With Ji Yun'er's words, the cultivators of the Ji family all raised their weapons and aligned them towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 506 You will be unable to live, who dares? When the Ji family cultivators were preparing to attack Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichen's voice rang. His overbearing tone was full of anger and murderousness, his handsome and unparalleled face covered with frost, and his deep eyes were as sharp as an arrow, directly shooting the cultivator of the Ji family. Seeing Di Bei Chen's appearance, the faces of the Ji family cultivators changed instantly. They were well aware of the status of Di Bei Chen, who would most likely become the next sovereign of Tiangang Zone in the future. If just because of Beili Hongzhuang, they were to anger such a promising successor like Di Bei Chen, it was undoubtedly very unprofitable to them. Moreover, they themselves knew for a fact that from beginning to end, it had been their young miss who was provoking others. If Ji Yuner had not been looking for trouble with Beili Hongzhuang would not have treated her like this, but now Beili Hongzhuang had put Ji Yuner in a situation where even they could not help. Seeing Di Bei Chen's protective attitude toward Beili Hongzhuang, Ji Yuner's face became ugly. Di Bei Chen, I have known you for so many years, but now that Beili Hongzhuang has hurt me, you will protect her. Ji Yuner's face was full of rage and paranoia. She did not believe that Di Bei Chen would rather offend the Ji family to protect Beili Hongzhuang. Unknowingly, Han Xiling had walked over to Di Bei Chen's side. Her beautiful, lotus-like face was a little worried. Di Dage, you should be clear about the identity of Ji Yuner, isn't this a bit too impulsive? Seeing Han Xiling say that to Di Bei Chen, the expressions of Xia Zhiqing and the others all changed. Di Bei Chen wouldn't give up on Beili Hongzhuang, right? Although they were not the children or disciples of a big family, they were still very clear on how they had only their own interests in mind. If Di Bei Chen dares to give up on Beili Hongzhuang, I will not let him go. Dong Fangyu quietly clenched his fists. In front of so many cultivators with high status, he had still been acting mild, but as long as he was there, he would never let them hurt Beili Hongzhuang. Lu Qinyu looked at Dong Fangyu, an unspeakable feeling rising in her heart. Her line of sight could not help but fall on Beili Hongzhuang in front of them. All the conflicts that were occurring now were caused by Beili Hongzhuang, but Beili Hongzhuang herself acted like nothing happened, indifferent. I have a sense of proportion, Di Bei Chen said with a faint voice, and then raising his voice, Hongzhuang is my wife. If you want to deal with her, you must cross through me. Di Bei Chen stood in front of Beili Hongzhuang. He had already shown his attitude with his actions. Han Xiling's face changed slightly. She had not expected that despite her advice, Di Bei Chen's heart would be unmoved. It had only been a short period of 3 years. Didn't she have any weight in Di Bei Chen's heart? You. Ji Yuner's anger was unstoppable, her fierce and vicious eyes directed at Beili Hongzhuang. If eyes could kill, I'm afraid, Beili Hongzhuang would have died many times over already. If you dare to do anything to me, you won't live. Beili Hongzhuang whispered faintly, her voice was still indifferent as if everything had nothing to do with her. However, when she heard it, Ji Yuner's expression only turned fiercer. Beili Hongzhuang, you still won't admit that you poisoned me. There is nothing I have to say. Why do you keep saying I poisoned you? Beili Hongzhuang shrugged, her expression innocent, but it just looked abhorrent in the eyes of Ji Yuner. Chapter 507 You are a doctor. If you didn't poison me, why did you say that I should not ask you for anything later? Ji Yuner gnashed her teeth, her eyes full of flames. Had it been under normal circumstances, such an expression would have been extremely powerful. However, under the effects of the severe pain, she could not even say a word properly. As for the force in her words, it was almost non-existent. The cold sweat had soaked through her clothes, she felt as if she was barely alive. I am a doctor. Do you want me to see what is wrong with your current situation? Beili Hongzhuang looked calm, not revealing the slightest bit of panic. Her serious appearance made people unable to find the slightest trace of it being a disguise. You are a doctor. Ji Yuner sneered. Do you think the people present here are all fools? Hongzhuang is a doctor, she is a godly doctor with superb skills. Xia Zhiqing said. Not only Xia Zhiqing, even Lu Huaiyan and the others nodded, they had personally seen the medical skills of Beili Hongzhuang. It was very good and could not be compared to ordinary doctors. Originally, everyone did not put Beili Hongzhuang's words in their heart. However, at this moment, after seeing that even the teachers of the Tsanglan College were nodding in approval, their hearts could not help but wonder. So, was it true that Bailey Hongzhuang really is a doctor? You say that you are a doctor, are you sure? Ji Yuner sneered. You are all in a group. It is only natural that you will help Bailey Hongzhuang. Miss Ji, what you are saying, it's not right. Lu Huiyen stepped forward, and his elderly face was a bit serious. I'm a teacher of the Tsanglan College, why would I lie about this kind of thing? We could get into this miasma forest because of the detoxification dan made by Bailey Hongzhuang. Xia Ziqing followed. With Xia Ziqing's words, Lin Yiro and other cultivators' expressions all changed. They were well aware of how toxic the miasma is. If not for their families, they would not have succeeded in entering the miasma forest. It was also for this reason that there weren't many people from each of their forces, otherwise, it was possible that there would have been much more cultivators. After all, no one could argue it was too much. Since Bailey Hongzhuang could develop a detoxification dan that could counter this miasma, it could be seen that the skills that she possessed were far beyond average. I had been wondering how they successfully entered this miasma forest. It turns out that Bailey Hongzhuang made a detoxification dan. Huang Fuhui said, his feeling complex. While as a cultivator, the background of their families was very important, many alchemists and doctors relied entirely on their own ability. The development of the detoxification dan by Bailey Hongzhuang proved that her medical skills were not simple. Once this news spread, it would be enough for many families to offer an olive branch to Bailey Hongzhuang. I can understand why Di Beichen likes Bailey Hongzhuang, it is because she is a doctor with excellent medical skills. Yan Lingxian said, with such a layer of identity, Bailey Hongzhuang's value was very different. 1. You have been poisoned for a long time, but the other party has made this toxin such that the toxins will take some time to attack, and this will hide all relations that they have with it. Bailey Hongzhuang's tone was light and easy, her posture lazy and uncaring, not at all tense despite the fact that the other side had their swords pointed towards her. Nonsense, that is impossible. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. Whether you believe or not, it is your own business, but later it will get more and more painful for you, and you will start bleeding until you die. Bailey Hongzhuang gestured lazily, a bit of ridicule in her words, not the least bit worried for Ji Yuner. Master, what are you going to do? Xiao He asked doubtfully. Others may not know it, but they understood their own master, this kind of a strange poison could only have been developed by her. Fool her. Bailey Hongzhuang raised a delicate brow, light flashing through her beautiful eyes, sly as a fox. Why should you fool her? Xiao He had some doubts. Now that Ji Yuner's life was in their hands, there was no need to play around anymore. Bailey Hongzhuang blinked, her eyes full of wisdom. I want her to accept giving me the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, and give it to me with gratitude. With her current strength, she could simply not compete with the Ji family. They previously had a conflict, so she can't let Ji Yuner die. What's more, with Ji Yuner's attitude, she, JY, would try her best to kill her, BHC, after she went back. Therefore, she must come up with a way to make the Ji family unable to do anything to her later. Sure enough, listening to the confident and determined judgment of Bailey Hongzhuang, even Ji Yuner's heart was swayed in confusion. In the Ji family, there were quite a few other competitive children who had strength similar to her. There were many people who would fight her for her position. She was no stranger to poison, and it was not impossible for someone to use it on her. For some time, Ji Yuner's mind was overwhelmed and she could no longer determine what to do. Doubtful thoughts flashed through the minds of Lin Yiro and the others. Bailey Hongzhuang's conviction in her words had even made them doubt the truth of the matter. Bailey Hongzhuang, you have to detoxify me. Ji Yuner was unable to think of other things at the moment, the pain in her body almost causing her to collapse, she had fallen into a state of weakness. If it went on like this, she would lose consciousness. Why should I detoxify you? Bailey Hongzhuang crossed her hands over her chest, her posture proud as she looked at Ji Yun'er. She and Ji Yun'er had no good feelings, on the contrary, they had had so many conflicts. Why would she ever help Ji Yun'er? Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Ji Yun'er felt herself going crazy. This woman was really abominable. Di Bei Chen's eyes showed his appreciation and amusement. His wifey was really smart. The originally difficult situation had been completely changed with his wifey's words. Now Ji Yun'er was even asking for her help. With just a few simple words, the situation had been completely reversed, and Bailey Hongzhuang may now even become the benefactor of Ji Yun'er. Miss Bailey, we will have to trouble you to help our young miss in detoxification. The leader of the Ji family cultivators said. Although he was not a doctor, he could see that Ji Yun'er's situation was very bad. It was very likely that Bailey Hongzhuang's words were true, and if they continued this way, Ji Yun'er would suffer. I will save her, even after she tried to kill me. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. I will never suffer a loss trading. 1. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the faces of the Ji family cultivators became somewhat ugly. The contradiction between Bailey Hongzhuang and Ji Yun'er had developed to a point where any semblance of peace was impossible. At this moment, they even appeared too demanding as they asked for help. After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Ji Yun'er almost fainted. She couldn't help but think of the time that she had forcefully laid claim on the demonic core of Qing Tian Mo alligator, that Bailey Hongzhuang. She hadn't expected things to come to this point. Could she lose even more face? Would she completely lose all of her respect today? Miss Bailey, the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, we will hand it over to you, how about it? The Ji family cultivator asked tentatively. That demonic core was mine, but it was robbed by you. Bailey Hongzhuang was indifferent, her stance on the matter unmoved. The meaning of her words was quite clear. A profiteer, the master is definitely the profiteer. Xiao He said, he felt amazed that his master could still fool the Ji family like this. Firstly, she poisoned the other party, and then let the other party ask her for help, and then she made them thank her for saving their lives. Their master was really good at such calculations. Sure enough, she is our master. I feel really convinced. Xiao Bai was excited. Seeing the shrill screaming of Ji Yun'er, and the spurt of blood, he really felt very happy. Bailey Hongzhuang, you are clearly trying to con us. Do you think our Ji family will give in to you? Ji Yun'er was depressed to the extreme, she regretted everything. If she had known the first time that she would face such a situation, she would have never taken the initiative to provoke Bailey Hongzhuang, absolutely not. Just that, now it was too late. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. I didn't say I wanted to take advantage of you. The reward I need for my work is extremely high. You don't want to give it, I don't want it. Her voice fell and Bailey Hongzhuang was too lazy to even look at Ji Yun'er, who was still on the ground, anymore. You're such an annoying person, even if I save you now, sooner or later in the future there will be people who will want to kill you. Saving you is a sheer waste of my strength. Such pretense. 1. You are still continuing to pretend. Ji Yun'er screamed wildly in her heart, but she could say nothing with her mouth. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang had completely eaten her. 2. The cultivators of the Ji family were speechless at this moment, and Ji Yun'er was really helpless. Originally, they would have paid Bailey Hongzhuang the price required. But now, because of Ji Yun'er, the price would be even higher. Miss Bailey, I have some valuable medicine here. I don't know if this will be enough to save our miss. Bailey Hongzhuang was indifferent and proud. I will not take the attitude of your Mississippi. Miss Bailey, I have some money here, you can go buy something you want. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the golden card, still unmoved. Miss Bailey, I have some demonic crystals and medicinal herbs. The cultivators of the Ji family constantly superimposed their rewards, and each reward caused great shock to appear in the eyes of Xia Zhiqing and the others. I'll go, so many treasures, but Heng Zhuang is still so indifferent. Xia Zhiqing's eyes were full of emotion. In the blink of an eye, Bailey Heng Zhuang had made a lot of money. Dong Fengyu's eyes were full of smile. Heng Zhuang is waiting for Ji Yuner to bow. Chapter 5:10 I beg you to save me. In the face of Bailey Heng Zhuang's indifference, the faces of the Ji family's cultivators became difficult to look at. They had already paid a lot of money. At this moment, Bailey Heng Zhuang suddenly made a noise. Even if I promise to help, I have to see if your Miss Ji is willing or not. Ji Yuner looked at Bailey Heng Zhuang with resentment. This was the first time she had felt such hatred. This woman was really abominable. Mississippi. The Ji family's leader looked helplessly at Ji Yuner, indicating that Ji Yuner says something. Ji Yuner turned her head reluctantly. If she bowed her head today, she would not be qualified to look at the others properly. Upon seeing this, Bailey Heng Zhuang pushed away all of the things given to her by the Ji family cultivators, a faint smile on her lips. To help the dying and healing the injured is also predestined. I didn't want to do anything too much. But since Miss Ji's attitude is like this, I will not treat her. Next, Bailey Heng Zhuang closed her eyes and adjusted her body, just waiting for the ward to disappear. The poison that she herself configured, she understood well. If it had not been for her current strength not being enough, she would never have used it on Ji Yuner. In that instant, the atmosphere turned stagnant. Ji Yuner had not expected that Bailey Heng Zhuang would be so adamant, and give everything back so easily. Isn't it said that the children of these families are very smart? Why do I feel that this Ji Yuner is exceptionally stupid? Xia Zhiqing frowned. She really couldn't understand Ji Yuner, who deliberately looked for trouble. Miss. The face of the cultivator who was heading the Ji family's people had become extremely embarrassed. He had always known the temper of his own lady, but this was not the time to lose it. Since the other had demanded this, shouldn't she be more thoughtful? Even 10 years were not late for a gentleman's revenge. Couldn't Ji Yuner even comprehend that? Thinking of this, the man's eyes could not help but fill with disappointment. Ji Yuner had such an IQ, it would not be easy to achieve a firm status in the Ji family in the future. Ji Yuner's face was pale, she was completely smothered in anger. She had lived arrogantly for so many years, when had she ever had to plead someone? Suddenly, Ji Yuner felt that there was something warm flowing from the tip of her nose. She reached out and saw that black blood was flowing out from her nose. It was like Bailey Heng Zhuang said, this was a sign of poisoning. Ah! Ji Yuner screamed, but when she thought of dying such a bloody death, she was even more afraid. The pain was getting worse, and more blood flowed out of her nose. I don't want to die. Ji Yuner's voice was overwhelmed. I don't want to die. Her status was so honorable, and her days were extremely comfortable. How could she die like this? Ji Yuner lifted her eyes, her gaze falling onto Bailey Heng Zhuang. She immediately shouted to Bailey Heng Zhuang. I don't want to die. However, in response to Ji Yuner, Bailey Heng Zhuang was still indifferent, even her brows did not move, as if she hadn't heard anything. Ji Yuner was really scared at this moment. She knew that Bailey Heng Zhuang was the only hope she had to survive. She immediately crawled towards Bailey Heng Zhuang. She grabbed onto Bailey Heng Zhuang's clothes and shouted, Save me, save me, save me, I beg you to save me. Even now, Bailey Heng Zhuang was indifferent. Chapter 5:11 Promising a favor. Seeing this scene, a complicated expression appeared in the eyes of Yan Lingxian and the others. The matters had grown to the present scene, it was all because of Ji Yuner. It was her who ruined her own situation. As long as Ji Yuner accepted, this matter would be resolved. If Ji Yuner had not made unnecessary provocations in the first place, she would have never been in this situation. However, the sudden change of Bailey Hung Zhuang from the previously weak to the current strong stance made a chill run down their spines. This Bailey Hung Zhuang is not a simple person. It is better if we don't fight her or offend her. Lin Yi-Ro's eyes sparkled with foresight. So far, although they didn't know whether the poison was really given by Bailey Hung Zhuang or another person, however, the means of Bailey Hung Zhuang made it absolutely impossible to doubt her. Huang Fuhui also had the same feeling and nodded. She is very intelligent. Among all of us, she may be the weakest, but she still stands out the most. It is not strange that Ji Yuner has been defeated by her. Ino Ling Xian shrunk his neck. Fortunately, there was the experimental shield Ji Yuner. Otherwise, if he would have offended Bailey Hung Zhuang at this moment, he was afraid that his condition would not be much better than Ji Yuner's. Even without her relationship with Di Beichen, Bailey Hung Zhuang was still a calm and terrible person. That was before. Now, I am not going to help. Bailey Hung Zhuang's voice and face were cold, her deep phoenix-like eyes filled with ice and determination, taking away the slightest hope from people. Ji Yuner only felt that the strength of her entire body was getting weaker and weaker, and the feeling of despair shrouded her. Previously, she only believed in her own family and did not believe she was going to die. However, now she no longer had any doubts. I beg you, I will never go against you again. Please save me. Ji Yuner cried. Ji Jia's head cultivator, one, also requested. Miss Bailey, I want you to treat Our Lady's poisoning. This kindness we will keep in our minds when you need it in the future. We will not refuse to help you. His words made the faces of the people change again. Kindness from Ji Jia. It was a terrific thing. Compared to all the treasures that they had offered before, Ji Jia's favor was the most precious. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo's face was full of incredulity. The situation had changed really too fast, making it hard to accept. To Bailey Hung Zhuang's means, I really applaud. Lu Huaiyan smiled with a sigh of relief, thinking how he and Fu Hongbo had been so easily seen through by Bailey Hung Zhuang when they first met. Bailey Hung Zhuang at that time was already unfathomable. Di Gongzi, you have been acquaintances with our miss from many years. Di Beichen pondered for a moment, and then walked to the side of Bailey Hung Zhuang, at an angle which could not be seen by everyone, too. Since Bailey Hung Zhuang's purpose had been reached, they must make sure Ji Yuner didn't actually die. Nyangzi, I have known the girl for a long time, will you help her get rid of the poison? Hearing these words, Bailey Hung Zhuang looked deeply into Di Beichen's eyes, but there was a trace of hesitation in her brows. She nodded. Then, all right. Ji Yuner's eyes flashed with excitement. The cultivators of Ji Jia also breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, they would not lose their lives. Thank you, thank you. Ji Yuner had no temper at the moment and actually began to thank him. List of chapters. 1. Not the head of the entire family, just this group of cultivators from Ji Jia. 2. The Ross says, which could not be seen by everyone. Chapter 5:12 Master is too black-bellied, too domineering. Xiao He excitedly raised his thumb. Their master's ability to reverse black and white was really powerful. Ji Yuner being so grateful to Di Beichen is exactly what their master had wanted to achieve. In this way, the Ji Jia cultivators would have to thank their master, and Ji Yuner would have to stop bothering them. Their master could really make great use of people without them even knowing, through her means. Master is too black-bellied. Xiao Bai said a bit emotionally. This time they had really made a big profit. Di Beichen's eyes were full of smiles. His own woman was really a clever little fox. She would not let others take advantage of her and was always the profiteer, making her even cuter in his eyes. In this case, I will help you get rid of the poison. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold. It looked like if Di Beichen had not stepped in, she would not have helped Ji Yun'er get rid of the poison. Therefore, Ji Yun'er and the others were more and more grateful to Di Beichen. Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out a silver needle, and with great skill, quickly and accurately inserted it into an acupoint of Ji Yun'er. Seeing this scene, in exception to the people of the Tsanglan College and Di Beichen, doubts emerged on the faces of other people. They had never seen such a strange healing method before. However, after Han Xiling saw what Bailey Hongzhuang was doing, the glimmer of light in her eyes dimmed, and her originally aloof appearance changed a bit. How is it possible? Han Xiling said. What is this treatment? I have never seen it before. Yan Lingzan was greatly puzzled. In all his years, he had never seen a doctor use such a method for detoxification. Lin Yi-ro also, though hard as she frowned, her eyes locked tight onto Bailey Hongzhuang's movements. Why do I feel that this method is very familiar? I also have the same feeling. Huang Fuhui agreed with a nod. He must have heard of it, but he could not remember it at the moment. Suddenly, Lin Yi-ro and Huang Fuhui looked at each other. They both looked like they had seen a ghost. Yan Lingsun noticed the change in the two people, and could not help but question. Why do you have such an expression? Do you already know what Bailey Hongzhuang is doing? The lost art of acupuncture. Lin Yi-ro sighed softly. The art of acupuncture? Yan Lingxian's tone was forceful. How could he not know that the powerful art of healing with acupuncture had been long lost? However, this method had long since disappeared. He didn't know how many long years the doctors lamented the loss of this technique. If it was not for Lin Yi-ro, he would not have connected Bailey Hongzhuang with the long-lost acupuncture. The art of acupuncture. The faces of the four cultivator families and those of Tian Gangzong all changed. When they looked at Bailey Hongzhuang again, their eyes were full of horror. Through careful examination, they found that the technique used by Bailey Hongzhuang and the art of acupuncture looked really similar. Hasn't the art of acupuncture been lost for many years? How could it appear again? Yeah, even if it appears, it's not possible for it to appear in the hands of a young, little girl. Maybe it's true, this girl's medicine is very good. If not, how could she have developed a detoxification dan to deal with the miasma? The cultivators of Jijia were all filled with fascination. They were worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would not be able to cure their young miss, but now it seems that there would be no problem. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.